is Magnus Bernhardsson. I'm in the Department of History. I teach modern Middle Eastern history, and I occasionally do lecture in my history courses. Lectures can be a very effective way to disseminate information or to provide students with a certain degree of certain baseline for which to build their discussion and their sort of tools for them to interpret the material. Lecturing, though, is maybe an art. I don't know what it is, but it certainly is a performance. I have thought of it as you're performing essentially in front of the class. When I first started lecturing, I have had perhaps a certain model in mind, which was a preacher. And I would envision that I would be sort of the authority, sort of standing in a pulpit with a sermon, and the students would be like the congregation waiting to hear what I had to say. And in many ways it was a very useful metaphor for me, because I really envisioned myself as being sort of this speaking on behalf of the higher authority, which in my case was my discipline, and that the students were this sort of captive congregation that had to listen to the truth coming out of my mouth. Now I realized that that was not a very effective way, so I moved away from the preacher model and thought, well, how can I convey this information that I have to the students? So I thought maybe I should take my lecture notes and memorize them as an actor would. So I went from being a preacher to an actor, memorize the script, and in that way play out what I would have ordinarily said in the sermon. Now that for me was very restrictive, and it was not particularly effective, I think, because I became so concerned with that I would memorize what I was going to say, or that I sort of became a prisoner in the text in a way. So then I thought maybe I should sort of liberate myself from that prison of the text, of the script, and maybe become more like a stand-up comic, to sort of go in and sort of be sort of have sort of a routine that seems impromptu, but in fact is quite scripted. So I tried that for a while, and in some ways that did not work very well for me. It seemed a bit fake, and I was still so concerned with the text, and had to get from A to Z in today's class. So I basically gave up that model, and I started thinking of maybe I should think of it as the way a jazz musician approaches a concert. That you start playing the standard tune, and in order to be a very effective jazz musician, you have to have mastered the tools of your instrument, and you have deep respect and knowledge of traditional modes of playing and tunes. And so that's how I see myself now, is that I have sort of the freedom to express, my take on the standard material. So I would provide the students in the beginning with a standard narrative. This is how people before me have approached this and interpreted it. But now I've sort of myself started to improvise on the standard tunes and sort of take a chance on maybe going down certain streets, going a little bit away from Main Street, in order to explore in detail more the issues at hand. So I think of myself as a jazz musician. I think that provides at least me with a good sort of sense of what it is I want to accomplish in each class. It's a performance, but you shouldn't be so caught up with the details of what you have to want to convey and what the students should get out of the material, that you don't want that to start to dominate you. You should allow the dynamics and the personality of the class also to dictate what happens in the class.